Welcome to True Crime Kin channel, where we dive into real stories that shake the core of human relationships. Today's case is one of shocking betrayal, twisted emotions, and a tragic ending that no one saw coming. So let's begin. Claire was a 22-year-old college student juggling her studies with a part-time job as a babysitter. She had been working for various families in her town, taking care of their children while earning some extra money to support herself. Her life was unremarkable, just another young woman working hard to make her dreams come true. But that all changed when she met Olivia. Olivia was in her late 30s, a stunning woman who seemed to have it all. She was married to Mark, a successful businessman who traveled frequently for work. They lived in an upscale neighborhood in a house that could have been taken straight from the pages of a luxury home magazine. Everything about Olivia exuded wealth, sophistication, and an air of mystery that Claire found captivating from the moment she first laid eyes on her. It started innocently enough. Claire was hired to babysit Olivia and Mark's 2 children. It was a routine job, something she had done countless times before. But there was something different about Olivia, something that drew Claire in. Perhaps it was the way Olivia looked at her gaze lingering a little too long, or the way she always found reasons to stay home when Claire was there, even when Mark was away on business. There was a tension between them that was impossible to ignore. As the weeks passed, that tension grew. Claire found herself looking forward to her babysitting gigs, not because of the money, but because it meant she would see Olivia. They began spending more time together, talking late into the night after the children had gone to bed. Their conversations started as casual chats about life, but they quickly became more personal, more intimate. Olivia confided in Claire about her loneliness, her dissatisfaction with her marriage, and the growing void in her life. Claire listened, offering comfort and support, all the while struggling with her own feelings. It wasn't long before their relationship crossed the line from friendship to something more. One night, after a few too many glasses of wine, Olivia leaned in and kissed Claire. It was a kiss filled with pent-up desire and longing, a kiss that neither of them could stop. They spent that night together, wrapped in each other's arms, and from that moment on, their affair began. Their relationship was passionate, intense, and deeply secretive. They stole moments whenever they could, sneaking kisses in the kitchen, holding hands while the children played, and whispering sweet nothings in the dark. Olivia was everything Claire had ever wanted. Beautiful, sophisticated, and thrillingly forbidden. Claire knew that what they were doing was wrong, but she couldn't stop herself. She was in love, and Olivia seemed to feel the same way. But as their affair continued, things began to change. Olivia became more possessive, more demanding of Claire's time. She wanted Claire all to herself, and grew jealous whenever she suspected Claire was seeing someone else. The more time they spent together, the more Olivia's need for control became apparent. She started making subtle demands, canceling plans with friends, quitting her other babysitting jobs, even skipping classes. At first, Claire didn't mind. She was happy to spend more time with Olivia, but as the demands grew, she began to feel trapped. It wasn't just Olivia's behavior that was changing. Claire began to notice the strain in Olivia's marriage. Mark, who had once been a distant, almost absentee husband, started coming home more often. He was more attentive to Olivia, more involved in their children's lives. He seemed to be trying to save his marriage, but Olivia was already too far gone. Her heart belonged to Claire, and she resented Mark's attempts to win her back. Mark wasn't blind to the changes in his wife. He noticed the way she pulled away from him, the way she always seemed preoccupied, and the way she lit up whenever Claire was around. At first, he tried to ignore it, telling himself that it was just a phase, that Olivia was just going through something and would eventually come back to him. But as time passed, his suspicions grew. He started asking questions, checking her phone, and even hiring a private investigator to follow her. It didn't take long for Mark to discover the truth. The investigator provided him with photographs, text messages, and evidence of the affair. Mark was devastated. He had loved Olivia with all his heart, and the thought of her betraying him with another woman was more than he could bear. But instead of confronting her, Mark decided to play a more sinister game. He began manipulating the situation, pretending not to know, all the while plotting his revenge. Mark was a man who believed in control, in power, and he wasn't about to let his wife and her lover get away with their betrayal. He began to subtly undermine their relationship, planting seeds of doubt in Olivia's mind, making her question Claire's loyalty. He would drop hints, suggest that Claire might be seeing someone else, or that she was only with Olivia for the money. Olivia, already possessive and insecure, began to believe him. The tension between Claire and Olivia grew. Their once passionate relationship became strained, filled with arguments and accusations. Olivia became more controlling, more desperate to keep Claire by her side, while Claire felt increasingly suffocated. The joy they had once found in each other was slowly being replaced by fear, jealousy, and mistrust. Mark watched all of this unfold with a twisted sense of satisfaction. He had managed to drive a wedge between them, but it wasn't enough. He wanted more. He wanted to punish them both for what they had done to him, and he knew exactly how to do it. One evening, Mark arranged for Olivia to go out for the night, telling her that he needed some time alone to think about their marriage. Reluctantly, Olivia agreed, leaving the house and heading to a nearby bar. With Olivia gone, Mark called Claire and asked her to come over, telling her that he needed to talk about something important. Claire, unaware of Mark's knowledge of the affair, agreed. She arrived at the house, nervous but hopeful that Mark was finally ready to talk about the tension in the household. When she walked through the door, Mark greeted her with a warm smile, leading her into the living room, where he had a bottle of wine waiting. They talked for a while, Mark pretending to be interested in her life. Asking about her plans, her dreams and her future, Claire was cautious but polite, answering his questions while wondering what he was really after. As the night went on, Mark's demeanor changed. He became more intense, more focused on her relationship with Olivia. He started asking probing questions. How long had it been going on? Did she really love Olivia? Did she know that Olivia was just using her? Claire was taken aback by his questions. She tried to deflect, but Mark kept pressing, his tone becoming more aggressive. Finally, unable to take it anymore, Claire admitted the truth. She told him about her love for Olivia, about the affair, and how she had never meant to hurt anyone. Mark listened, his face a mask of cold indifference. When she finished, he stood up, walked over to the fireplace, and pulled out a metal rod that had been heating in the flames. Before Claire could react, he swung the rod at her, striking her across the head. Claire screamed in pain, falling to the floor as Mark continued his brutal assault. He beat her with a ferocity that shocked even him, fueled by months of pent-up rage and betrayal. When he was done, Claire lay lifeless on the floor, her blood pooling around her. Mark stared down at her, his chest heaving with exertion, his mind reeling from what he had just done. He had killed her. He had killed the woman who had taken his wife from him, and in that moment he felt nothing but a hollow emptiness. Realizing the gravity of his actions, Mark quickly set about cleaning up the crime scene. He wrapped Claire's body in a tarp and carried her out to his car, driving to a remote location where he buried her in a shallow grave. He returned home, scrubbing the blood from the floor, disposing of her belongings and erasing any trace that she had ever been there. When Olivia returned home later that night, Mark was waiting for her. He told her that Claire had decided to leave town, that she had grown tired of the affair and had broken things off. Olivia, devastated, tried to call Claire, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Days turned into weeks, and there was no sign of Claire. Olivia was heartbroken, but Mark comforted her, telling her that it was for the best, that they could now focus on rebuilding their marriage. But the guilt was too much for Mark to bear. He couldn't escape the memories of that night, the sound of the metal rod striking Claire's head, the sight of her blood on the floor, the lifeless look in her eyes. He began to unravel, his mind consumed by guilt and paranoia. He saw Claire everywhere, in his dreams, in the shadows, in the faces of strangers. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function. Olivia noticed the change in him. He became distant, irritable, and increasingly erratic. She tried to reach out to him to help him, but he pushed her away. The marriage he had fought so hard to save was crumbling, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Finally, unable to take it anymore, Mark confessed to Olivia. He told her everything. About the affair, about his suspicions, about the night he killed Claire. Olivia was horrified. The man she had once loved, the father of her children, was a murderer. She couldn't believe what she was hearing, couldn't comprehend the depth of his betrayal. In a state of shock, Olivia called the police. Mark was arrested and charged with murder during his trial. The full extent of the tragedy was laid bare for everyone to see: the affair, the jealousy, the rage. All of it was brought to light as Mark's defense team tried to paint him as a man driven to the edge by his wife's infidelity. They argued that he had been pushed too far, that his actions were the result of a moment of temporary insanity brought on by the betrayal he had suffered. But the jury saw through the defense. They saw a man who had meticulously planned his revenge, who had manipulated both his wife and her lover, and who had coldly and calculatingly murdered an innocent young woman. They saw a man who had let his own insecurities and need for control drive him to commit an unspeakable act. The trial was a media sensation. The story of the wealthy couple, the young babysitter, and the deadly affair captivated the public's imagination. News outlets ran constant coverage, delving into every sordid detail of the case. The courtroom was packed every day, with people clamoring to catch a glimpse of the man who had committed such a heinous crime. In the end, Mark was found guilty of first-degree murder, and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Olivia, shattered by the loss of both her lover and her husband, was left to pick up the pieces of her life. She moved away from the town that had once been her home, taking her children with her and trying to start over somewhere new. But the scars of what had happened would never fully heal. As for Claire, she was mourned by her family and friends who had never imagined that her life would end in such a tragic way. Her grave became a place of pilgrimage for those who had followed the case. A stark reminder of the dangers of passion and jealousy. Years later, the story of the affair and the murder would still be whispered about in the town where it all happened. It became a cautionary tale, a dark reminder of how love, when twisted by obsession and possessiveness, can lead to the most unimaginable of crimes. The tragic affair of Olivia, Mark, and Claire stands as a testament to the destructive power of jealousy, the length to which people will go to protect their fragile egos, and the devastating consequences that can arise when love turns deadly. In the end, everyone involved in the sordid affair lost something. Olivia lost her lover, Mark lost his freedom, and Claire lost her life. The town, once known for its quiet streets and close-knit community, became infamous for the crime that had shattered it. The case remains a haunting reminder that sometimes the most dangerous relationships are the ones that seem the most passionate. This tragic story mirrors many real-life cases where emotions run high and people make irreversible decisions in the heat of the moment. It serves as a stark warning about the dangers of letting jealousy, anger, and possessiveness take control. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like this video for more true crime video. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. Take care and see you in the next video.